y'all? It's your girl Roxy with Roxy Says, and we're gonna talk about it. Baby, we are reviewing Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story, okay? I wasn't ready. You weren't ready. We were not ready. Queen Charlotte, I have no tears left. I am all cried out. This video is gonna be full of spoilers. This is for the people who we already binged the show. We've watched other reviews. We've watched recaps. We've watched breakdown. Yeah, so don't say I didn't tell you. This video is gonna be full of spoilers. We're gonna talk about Queen Charlotte, King George, Brimsley and Reynolds. We're gonna talk about Lady Danbury getting it on with somebody daddy, okay? We're gonna talk about those steamy sex scenes, the great experiment, and of course, the issues that King George faced throughout this series. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna speak on why this series was particularly triggering for me and why I almost was not able to finish this show. So let's get into it. So I watched season 1 and season 2 of Bridgerton, loved them both, and Queen Charlotte did not disappoint in any way at all. I think from top to bottom, they did an amazing job, from the casting to the hair to the costumes, baby, to the music. I heard some Beyonce in there. I heard some Alicia Keys in there, okay? Just amazing, amazingly done. Casting India as a young Queen Charlotte, just perfect. She looks like a young Golda, and then they put the beauty marks on her, and that was just the cherry on top. And then I loved young Charlotte. She was witty, she was smart, okay? She didn't take no BS. Well, I mean, to the extent that she didn't have to, because as we see in the very first scene of the episode, she's completely stripped of all of her autonomy, and her brother makes a deal for her to marry King George without her having any knowledge or without her giving any permission or input whatsoever. Then we have Corey, who played the young King George, okay? Farmer George. He's fine, okay? Baby, Corey is fine. Like, Corey's fine. And he played his role so well that when we were first introduced to him in the garden, when Charlotte is trying to climb over the wall, I'm like, ooh, I love him already. They're going to be amazing together. And then by the end of episode 1, he's a complete a-hole. And I'm like, George, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Until we get deeper and deeper into the series and we see what's really going on, right? In that first scene, when Queen Charlotte is trying to climb over the wall and she's like, I'm trying to get away from this King George. No one wants to tell me about him. I know he's a troll. He's probably the worst person ever. Help me get over this wall so I don't have to marry this man. And King George says, yeah, I'm not going to help you because you're trying to get away from marrying me. And Queen Charlotte was like, well, hold on now. Well, hold on. You didn't say that you were King George. Charlotte was like, oh, King, you kind of fine, King. I was like, Charlotte, yes, he is fine, okay? The casting for young Lady Danbury was also amazing. Arsema, who plays young Lady Danbury, looks just like Ajua, who plays the present day Lady Danbury. And it's so beautiful to see Lady Danbury and Queen Charlotte's story. We get to see what a loyal friend Lady Danbury was to the Queen. We get to see her having to endure that scary man climbing on top of her every night, where she just gotta stare up at the ceiling and just wait for it to be over. Lord have mercy. That man was like the scariest thing that I've ever seen. And for him to be on top of you, oh God. And her girl Coral made sure that she had that bath warm and ready. So as soon as Lord Danbury was finished, she could hop right in that bath, because she was so disgusted. Like, I need to hop right in the bath after this guy rolls over from on top of me. Lord, And not only that she has to look up at the ceiling and deal with this scary man on top of her, she also has to stroke his ego day in and day out. And she has to make him think that everything they're achieving, him being able to be called Lord, them acquiring this new home and this new land, she has to make him think that it's because of him. When it's not. It's because she's in the background being a smart woman, making moves, making plays for their best interest. So she had to go through a lot with his horrible behind. Then the glorious day finally comes when Lord Danbury dies mid-stroke, honey. Lady Danbury is on all fours and she's like, my lord. My lord. Are you back there? Are you okay? And then we hear the thud. She's like, oh, the day has finally come. They've clearly been waiting for this day for a very long time. They rejoice for a little bit before Lady Danbury goes back in the room to put on her Oscar-worthy performance of grieving her now dead husband, okay? That part was too funny. As the episodes progress, we see that after Lord Danbury's death, Lady Danbury has to pretty much pick up all the pieces. She has to make sure that she keeps her title, she keeps her property, and that her son is able to become the new Lord Danbury. In addition, she also needed some loving, right? She finds companionship in a man who talks to her, who understands her. They enjoy each other's time. They enjoy each other's company. They're attracted to each other. And we learned that this man is Violet's daddy, Lord Ledger. What? Lady Danbury, not you fucking Violet's daddy, girl. And it's really interesting because Violet and Lady Danbury have started to grow closer. They've started to share intimate details with each other, right? Violet tells Lady Danbury, like, look, I loved my husband, but he's been gone for some time. And Violet tells Lady Danbury, like, sis, my garden is in bloom. Like, you got any advice, right? Because she knows that Lady Danbury's husband died a long time ago. And Lady Danbury is coy with her. And she does mention that she had some dealings with Queen Charlotte's brother, but she's tight-lipped about her daddy. But we see Violet eventually finds out because one day when she was visiting Lady Danbury, she saw one of those party hats that her dad used to make. So she puts two and two together and she's like, oh, okay, you know what, this Friday, I'm going to invite Lady Danbury over for tea. And when Lady Danbury comes over for tea, Violet has already placed all of the party hats that she had saved from her father. She's placed them all around the room, right? And I love that scene because they don't speak about it. It's like a unspoken understanding. It was just like a, yeah, okay. Another element to the show that I loved was the idea of this great experiment. We spoke about race in this series. We see how after Queen Charlotte arrives, Princess Augusta, who is King George's mother, is speaking to her little minions, and they're like, well, damn, I didn't think she would be that brown. I'm like, brown? Child, I would love to say we've come a long way, but have we really? Like, not really. But they're discussing her skin color, and clearly it is a problem. And that's why I love that on wedding day, Queen Charlotte wore the dress that she wanted to wear, and she rocked her big afro. Like, what's up? Like, I'm wearing an afro. What's up? Like, who gonna check me, boo? I loved it. I was like, yeah, step into your queendom, Queen Charlotte, period. And I love that we got that scene with young Violet where she was really curious. Young Violet reminds me of Eloise. You know, Eloise, her daughter in Bridgerton, and she's always questioning things and she's always thinking. And it's so funny because in Bridgerton, Violet is always like chastising Eloise, like, girl, shut up. But that's exactly how Violet was when she was a little girl. She questioned things. And I love in that scene where she's listening to her mom being racist as hell. And she's like, wait, but hold up, mama. They're gentlemen too. They went to Oxford with daddy, right? They got their titles and their land and their home from the king too. And some of them got more money than us. So what's the problem? It's giving racist. Like, young Violet read her down. And I love that we got that perspective of someone from such a young age. It's like, girl, I'm a kid and I'm seeing there's really no difference other than the color of our skin. I loved that scene. And then we saw that her father approved. So I was like, okay, Lord Ledger, he with it. He know what's up, right? He knows what's up. Now, we have to talk about these sex scenes. Whew. I need some water. Do I have water in here? We need to talk about these sex scenes because these scenes were so hot, so steamy. I'm like, ooh, is this Netflix or am I on a different site? Okay, because I was getting a little hot and bothered. When they got on that even day schedule, it was a wrap. Anywhere, anytime, any place. It's an even day. Listen, we about to get it on, okay? We don't care who's around. And I already know what your favorite scene is because I know you nasty. You don't even got to tell me. I already know.
It is an even day.
It is. When I tell you I was cracking up at that scene, the staff didn't know what the hell to do. It was very much giving Michael Scott in The Office.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Stay calm!
Brimsley and Reynolds just had to run everyone up out of there. Like, okay, they about to really do this. They don't care who's in here. Like, we gotta go. I love that scene because it just showed the passion. Like, ooh, so good. So good. Hold on a second. Did you hit like and subscribe yet? Did you? Okay. Okay, cool. Moving on. So let's see. What else? Oh, with Queen Charlotte, I did find it a bit disheartening that we saw that as she got older, she became such a different person from the young Queen Charlotte that we saw, right? She became obsessed with having an heir. We know that she had a bunch of children. Her sons was out there dipping and doing it with people who were not their wives. So she had a lot of illegitimate grandchildren, but she didn't have anyone who was an heir. And the only grandson that she would have had recently passed away with his mother during childbirth. Sorrow's prayers. And then we learned that Queen Charlotte, aka Vanessa Lachey, has been hounding her daughters to get married and have children because she wants an heir. And we do learn that one of her daughters who is married has been trying to get pregnant for a very long time. And we can see that she doesn't really handle her children or this situation with care at all. It's really cold, really callous. And we see that she is willing to put another young girl through the same thing that she went through as a young woman. She has no problem turning around years later and doing that to someone else's daughter, taking away someone else's autonomy just so that she can have an heir, the same way King George's mother did, just so that he can have an heir. So that part I didn't really like because I'm like, oh, I loved Queen Charlotte so much. I mean, granted, I still like modern day Queen Charlotte, but that was a part of her that I was not feeling at all. Tell me what you think below. Also, to see how disconnected she was from Brimsley. This man has been by your side your entire life, damn near. And the question that she asked him about ever being in love or getting married, how do you not know that? Like, I was like, ew, Charlotte, that made me not like her a little bit. I'm just saying, like, I was like, she is so disconnected and self-absorbed. I really didn't like that. Speaking of Brimsley, we got the couple Brimsley and Reynolds. Okay. How stifling. I'm about to get emotional. How stifling was life for them, right? These two men were in love with each other. They cared about each other. And they couldn't fully be with each other. We're in the year 2023 and people aren't able to live in their truth. So can you imagine back then? And what's so sad to me about Brimsley is that, well, Brimsley and Reynolds, is that they were robbed in so many ways. One, they had no identity really outside of being an aide to the king and queen. They didn't have a personal life. They didn't spend time with their family. Their entire existence was to assist the king and the queen. And then on top of that, they were robbed of being able to love each other fully and openly. What really makes me sad about Brimsley is that his entire life was centered around a woman who we later see didn't really care about him, didn't really take an interest in him. And that blows my mind because, like I said before, Brimsley was literally by this woman's side her whole life, like for the majority of her life. You would think that they would have a connection and a bond so strong, and they didn't. And we can see that Brimsley has the type of personality where if Queen Charlotte welcomed that kind of interaction, that kind of a really strong friendship, oh my God, they would have had the most amazing, beautiful platonic relationship ever. Like, we can see that. But clearly she closed herself off to that. So baby, when that scene came where we saw Brimsley and Reynolds dancing acres away with each other, laughing and smiling, and then the scene changes to present day Brimsley dancing by himself. Baby, I was not ready. When I say I started bawling, like, oh my goodness, bawling, tears. I'm like, what the hell, Queen Charlotte? Y'all ain't tell me that I was gonna be crying like this. Come on now. And we don't know what happened to Reynolds, right? We can only assume that Reynolds has passed away. And the look on Brimsley's face, there's such a longing and a sense of loss. Oh no, no. But there's such a longing and a sense of loss in his face and in his eyes. It's just, oh my God. Like that scene broke me. That was one of the many scenes that broke me. And then they were dancing to Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. What the? Y'all knew what y'all was doing. Y'all knew what y'all was doing, okay? So we know that the show Queen Charlotte is loosely based on true events, right? And it was rumored that the real King George was mad. There's not really any confirmation on what his condition was. I've seen bipolar disorder, I've seen anxiety, I've seen a number of things, but nothing has been confirmed. And they don't really name it in the show because obviously at that time, there's not a name for whatever it is that he's experiencing. And of course, at that time, any sign of imperfection in any way is viewed as a weakness. And honestly, a lot of people view mental illness the same way today. They're embarrassed. They're looked at as weak, right? It's people look at them in shame and pity. Or sometimes people who are dealing with mental illness are a bit more apprehensive to see what's going on because they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be looked at as weak. They don't want to be shunned. I'm really happy that we've come a long way in the sense that there are now treatments that are available for people to get help when needed. But as we see in Queen Charlotte, those treatments were absolutely horrible and disgusting. I remember in the first episode when they had the wedding and then King George brought Charlotte to Buckingham Palace and he's like, all right, bye, see you later. She's like, what, you're not coming home? And he's like, no, this is your home, right? And she started questioning him and like, what's going on? Why? And he blew up at her. And I was like, ew, what's wrong with you? Oh, hell no. But as the episodes progress, and then when we get that episode from King George's point of view, we see that the reason why he wanted to stay away from Charlotte was because he didn't want to hurt her. He didn't want her to know about what he was going through. And he was very unpredictable, so he didn't want to put her in any type of danger. And of course, that would have been a really tough conversation to have with Charlotte during that time. They didn't even have the verbiage for what he was experiencing. And you saw that when the doctor made the comment that maybe what he's going through isn't physical, maybe it's nervous, they called it treason. They was like, are you saying that the king is crazy? But when I was watching the show and that doctor brought up, y'all are saying it's something with his knee, it's probably nervous. I was like, yes. Finally, a doctor with some sense, right? Who's thinking outside the box. Now he's going to get the care he needs, child. Yeah, I was wrong. I will say this. I don't think that that doctor had malicious intent. I really think that he thought what he was doing was helpful. I think that he felt like the reason why King George was having these outbursts is because he had too much control. He didn't really have to answer to anyone. There was no discipline. So I do think that he truly believed in what he was doing. But as we see, King George was really just being used as a guinea pig, honestly. King George is going through these treatments in secrecy away from Charlotte because they are trying to hide this from her until that night where Charlotte follows him out into the garden and he strips down and he's talking to the sky, right? And in that moment, I got really emotional because Charlotte handled that so well. She handled him with so much care. She covered him. She's like, look, I'm Venus. I was in the heavens and I've come down to you, right? So beautiful. And we see a young Charlotte taking on something so heavy, learning something of such magnitude about her husband, right? That everyone has been hiding from her for all of this time. So during that scene, I cried, okay? When Charlotte had the back and forth with King George in his observatory, where she's like, look, I am here. You just need to tell me you love me and I got you, okay?
No one wishes that.
George, I will stand with you between the heavens and the earth. I will tell you where you are. Do you love me?
I love you.
I cried. When King George was getting treatment from that doctor and she said, F this, I'm going to get my husband. And when she rolled up, she told that doctor, look, if you come near my husband again, I'm going to get someone to cut your damn head off. Period. I said, yes, queen, you better go get your man. He over there doing craziness. When Charlotte was having her baby and King George told homeboy, move aside, okay? I don't care what the custom is. I don't care if men don't go in the room. I'm going to be there for my wife. So good, right? When Queen Charlotte felt that King George was getting better and it was time for him to address Parliament. And we can see as he's preparing, he's getting nervous. His hands are shaking. He gets in the carriage and we can see he's starting to have an episode. And by the time they got to Parliament and Reynolds goes to open the door for King George to come out, he's balled up on the floor in the carriage and he can't get out the carriage. I was bawling. I was bawling when she went under the bed with him when they were younger. And I love how they shot that scene because the way the camera goes when she's going under the bed or when he's going under the bed, and to see them do that when they were younger. And she says, look, I will hide from the heavens with you. Come under here with me. Farmer George, come under here with me, because he thinks that the heavens are after him, right? So they go under the bed. That becomes their safe space. And we see that years and years later, they do the same thing, right? So we see that scene when Queen Charlotte goes to visit King George and she goes in there alone. And we can see that he's clearly been dealing with the same thing. He's still writing on the walls. He's still speaking about the stars and about Venus, right? And she's like, Farmer George. And she goes under the bed and she's like, it's me, Charlotte. And he comes under the bed with her and and they do some catching up and she's like, you're gonna have an heir, and they share a few laughs and he turns to her and he says, you didn't go over the wall, baby. When I tell you I was up at 2 a.m. bawling my eyes out, that, oh my God. It was bittersweet because you know that this moment that they're having is going to be short-lived. It's beautiful because they got to share that moment together where he remembered her, but it's heartbreaking because you know that once they leave from under that bed, it's back to reality. You know what I mean? So it was really touching. And that brings me to why this show was particularly triggering for me. Because when I was 18, 19, I was in a relationship with someone who was at that time undiagnosed. But a couple of things happened. Long story short, the cops were called and he was taken to a facility to be evaluated. And his family did let me know that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So the reason why I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make it through this show is because as the episodes progressed and we got glimpses of what was going on, like the first time that I saw King George, when he sat down in the chair and he started shaking, I was like, oh, what's going on? But then when we saw he was meeting with his mother, remember when his mother called that meeting to tell him, like, we found a queen for you, and he started repeating himself and he started ticking and stuff, I hit pause. I was like, okay, I see where this is going, and I have to, like, am I ready to watch this show? And then, of course, seeing Queen Charlotte and seeing the scene where he says, like, you didn't go over the wall, like, 19-year-old me felt really guilty because I did go over that wall. I was choosing my safety and my sanity because it was a situation that became very unsafe for me, but I felt guilty about that for a long time. I was scared that he was going to come back for me, and I felt guilty that I didn't stick by his side. Looking back, I'm happy that I made the decision that I made during that time because I don't know what would have happened, but I know it wouldn't have been good because it was heading down a really bad path. So that's why Queen Charlotte hit me in ways that I didn't think. I just turned on Netflix thinking that I was going to get another season of Bridgerton, and Queen Charlotte was clearly not that. We are so invested in these characters, in these stories. It was so beautifully done. If you have not seen Queen Charlotte yet, definitely give it a watch. Even if you think I've told you everything, there's more. Shonda Rhimes did her thing in this series. It was so much and yet still not enough, right? Because we're still watching reviews and watching breakdowns because the show is so good. And it touched us all in some kind of way. Listen, I hope that you guys enjoyed my review, my recap of this show. Please don't hesitate to give this video a like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's talk about Queen Charlotte down below because I still have not gotten enough of this show. Let's talk about it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.